Oh, well, so I'm gonna let Sue introduce herself because for some reason YouTube isn't working right now, and then I'll introduce myself in just a moment.
I was listening to Linda and thinking, I don't want to reinforce that we love seeing you here because I know this isn't your first choice about places to be. I understand that. But the reason that I think Linda does this, I know Linda does this, and why I like being here is I've just been casting about in my brain. I think this is one of the few spaces that is consistently weekly available to you, as well as the LinkedIn private group. We come to see more and more people that aren't just, for example, initially from Linda's big network in a geographic area, but also some of you have been here longer. I've known some of you from other online spaces. And I think the important message for you all is that you keep coming here, and that already shows us how much you're doing in your job search. So, yay, you. Thank you, Linda, because I was just about to say, because I'm the mentor with Pom Poms. I run Sue Mentors, a global mentoring practice. I appreciate Linda letting me be here, and I try to monitor the chat and keep things going along as she moderates. I'll put my information in the chat box. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you so much, Sue. And for some reason, YouTube isn't working right now, so I'll just have to post it up there later. But in any event, I'm Linda Brubaker, and I'm your job search facilitator. Let's put it that way. What my goal is to help empower you with the skills you need to find that next forever job. Do it through these Lunch and Learns, which is my labor of love, and Sue's as well. We're here to provide you with that support. I have over 20 years of experience in HR as a business partner, as a hiring manager, as an executive recruiter, headhunter, okay, and a hiring manager. And I've been a dedicated job search coach now for the last 7 years, and I love what I do. And what I do in my individual coaching is what supports these sessions. So I will put my information in the chat as well, just as Sue is, if you ever want to get a hold of us. But our goal today is to be here to provide you with support and answers. And this is an open free for all. Job search is tough. Okay. We want to make sure that we know you have questions. So if you have a question, as soon as we get started, I want to make sure that you get that answered if we can. So just a couple of quick little housekeeping tips. At the bottom of the screen, there is the raise hand feature. Because there are so many of us, please don't just shout out. I'd like everybody to be muted until it's your turn to talk. But when you do have a question, please raise that digital hand so that we can call on you. Okay? Now, that said, if you've been here before, you know that we usually start with a quick win. So does anybody have a quick win that they would like to share? Eric.
Good morning. I had an interview Monday with a company in Reston, Virginia. I actually got to speak with the CIO, and he said we're going to move to next steps. I think that means meeting with one of the developers on the team. So that was my win for the week.
And that's a great win. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is it a job you're excited about?
I don't know about that.
It's okay.
It's completely in office. I've been working remote for the last 2 years, so it's going to be a little bit different if that happens. But
it is. It is still something you can try and negotiate. Doesn't always work.
You really have to be in the office for this particular role.
Oh.
Because all the equipment's in there, and it's a different type of software that's used for like the military and the police, and it's like simulation software. So you have to be using these simulation guns and rifles and setting them up for targets and stuff like that. So it's really bizarre. Something I've never worked on, but we'll see what happens.
Could be fun.
At least it was
keep us posted. Deb.
So using my husband's baseball coach analogy of like a hit gets a hit. So when you're trying to encourage your team as kids to just get on base with a hit, that hits are contagious. And once one person gets a hit, another person will get a hit, and it follows through.
Absolutely.
So in that thought process, I applied to be a substitute teacher in my local high school district, and I was accepted. So, I paid the $50 state licensure fee, and then the registration fee for the county, and then the money for my university for my transcript. So I put out $120 in doing this, which I'm fine with, because I had a phone interview yesterday and a Teams interview this afternoon with another company that's 10 minutes from my house. So fingers crossed that I spent $125 to get certified to become a sub, and I never have to be a sub. So I think it all kind of works in a mysterious way. So fingers are crossed.
It does. And the idea of one thing begetting another is absolutely true. I think that sometimes it's our mindset, sometimes it's just the universe, but that's great. By the way, for those of you who have a bachelor's degree, depending upon your state, in almost any state, or at least in Illinois, if you have a bachelor's degree in anything, you can be a substitute teacher. What I like about subbing is that it gives you the flexibility to work when you choose to. It brings in a little bit of cash. It lets you do a little bit more networking. And that's not a bad thing. So it's a great, easy way of moving yourself forward to get that transitional, that survival, that little bit of something going on. So great idea. Thank you.
Fingers crossed it works.
Absolutely. Karen.
Hey, I just wanted to mention I'm juggling 3 companies right now for first, second, and third round interviews, but it's not always like this. So what I want to say, yeah, thank you. But what I want to say is it's not always like this. Sometimes there's weeks of nothing. Sometimes there's months of nothing. So, and when I'm in one of those periods and I hear somebody say, yeah, I had 4 interviews this week, I'm happy for them, but it still hurts my heart a little bit. Like, why isn't it happening for me? So I just want to put that out there. If whatever phase that you're in, it will come, there will be activity. It's just going to ebb and flow like an ocean wave. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
That's really important. Thank you, because you're right. It doesn't always happen for all of us. And sometimes the reason we do these quick wins is to give people hope. But I know that there are a couple of people who say that it feels bad because it's not happening to them. So thanks for sharing that. Eric, is your hand still up or is this a new one?
No, I'll put it back down. Sorry.
No problem. Any other quick wins? Okay, then let's go right into the Q&A because this is really your time. Job search is tough. If you have questions, let's see how many of them we can get answered today. So who's got a question for us? Okay, I see Ali. Where is he?
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Good
Quick,
morning.
maybe it's not an intelligent question. Is sometimes when you do the application, they ask you to go to do, I'm a veteran, disability, race stuff. It takes time. Anybody from recruiting actually looks at those?
So yes and no. So here's the reason they do those. They do it for legal purposes.
Mhm.
It will not get your foot in the door unless they are a company that says they have an agreement where they are specifically trying to hire. It also will not hurt you if you don't do it. Okay. It is the back end.
Mhm.
There are some companies that are specifically trying to find additional people who have that veteran status, in which case it will help. In fact, if that veteran status is really important to the kinds of things that you do, we might even include it in your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
But
And
no,
just
it won't hurt you.
one more thing about the win. As some of you know, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned about the offer I got to go to Saudi. The offer actually came officially, very formal, all details last Wednesday. I talked with some friends. Everybody says, don't do it. I don't want to do it. But yet again, I just said, you know what, let me do a counter offer. I'm waiting I wrote a counter offer, very professional, see whether they accept it or not. It's like somebody said, I sell my mother. They said, how can you sell your mother? I said, well, I price her so high that nobody would buy her. So I
Not
basically,
necessarily. For a lot of these overseas jobs, okay, the money isn't the issue. the question is, what can you do in terms of your
Good.
own family?
Right. So one of the things I negotiated was I want to be able to work every quarter 1 week remote. That means I can come back every quarter, for example. That was one of them, and some other things. But we'll see. We'll see. But I still, not my heart, my brain, none is in this job. And yet it's the first time since beginning of the year that the past 2 weeks I have no interview, no waiting for a result from any interview. For me is just the past 2 weeks been dry in terms of activity. So
And that happens, you're going to go through periods of
sure.
lots of activity and done. What I'm going to suggest for all of you is that unless you absolutely need that, I have to have that job tomorrow. Okay. Give yourself permission, if it's not the right fit, to walk away. And I know that that's a very tough thing to do. Okay. You got the bird in the hand. How can I turn it down? But it has to be the right thing for you, and it has to be the right thing for your family. So good luck and keep us posted.
Will do. Thank you.
Deb.
So the position that I was talking about before, that's close to my home, it is more than a 30% pay cut from my last position, but I'm okay with that because financially we can swing it, number one. But number two, it's going, so for those of you who don't know, my background has been talent acquisition and agency recruiter, and this is more of a HR shared services type representative position. So it's like HR generalist light per se. My hands will be in a lot of different things that are HR that I haven't had previous exposure to. And the company culture is excellent. They're a big name locally, and you see them on every kind of sponsorship within the community. So my question is this: how do I, when I talked with the recruiter yesterday from the company, she agreed and understood where I was coming from. Today I'm talking with the hiring manager. How do I convince her that it's not about the salary? And while it is a step backward, it really isn't for me. What I want to say is something to the effect of, sometimes I realize you need to take that step backward to expand your skill set, and I'm looking to grow my HR expertise. Is
So I would
that what
never-
you would say, or something else?
I would never say backward.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. Thank you.
I was going to say step to the side.
Okay.
Okay. The idea is you're broadening your skill set. Now, Illinois is one of those states where they cannot ask what you used to make.
Correct.
So you don't have to volunteer that. You don't have to say this is less than you were making before.
Right. But given my 25 years of work experience, they're going to realize that it's that I've been making more than $50,000.
And they could. But by the same token, your idea is, what's important to me is not the money. Don't get me wrong. Okay. The money is important, but here's what's really important. Learning new skills, being able to do things in new ways, broaden the expertise that I have, be able to contribute to company X in this. Okay. Career paths aren't straight lines, and I'm excited about learning something new and contributing in new ways. What's more important to me than the salary is the work I'm doing, the people I'm working with.
Okay.
So those kinds of things, but never step back, always step to the side.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting. That stood out to me right away too.
Who's this? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to apologize, Jim Locascio. I'm sorry I interrupted before.
No, it's okay. I was just trying to find you.
Okay, thank you.
So put your hand up, Jim,
Sure, sorry about that too.
so I can find you. Sue, if you can find him and I haven't. Still not finding you offhand, but go ahead.
Well, I did raise my hand, but that's all I wanted to say.
Okay,
TJ,
so you wanted to add to that?
No, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, but always step to the side, never step back. TJ.
Okay, here's my question for you. When in job searching, when is it appropriate to block your former boss?
Talked about that.
Because there has been some issues with my past employment, but I don't want her to be able to contact me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because I noticed she visited my profile.
You can block anyone and they'll never know.
Would you recommend it?
That's strictly up to you. Is there a reason you don't want her to contact you or to look at what's going on?
Because there's been some borderline ethical concerns with her.
Okay. You can, as I said, you can block anyone. It's very easy. Okay. You just go into their profile. There's a click under more that you can say block. And you can
Okay.
do that and they will never know. Now they may know that you've looked at their profile, but oh well.
If she looked at my profile.
Yeah. Okay. But
Because I
yes,
think
go ahead.
there's some legal issues with her being one manager. So
Okay. So I have blocked people, but normally not for that. I block them more because of inappropriate content.
okay.
But yes, you can.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Karen.
Just on the last gentleman's comments, are there any concerns about legal issues where you may have to testify or give statements about her communication? Because you might want to leave it on and save that as evidence as she tries to contact you if there's anything like that going on. And I'm not asking to get in your business, but you don't have to respond. So if she's sending you, inappropriate or mean or just whatever she's sending, you don't have to respond to that, but you'll have that if you need it in court. That's all. Thank you.
No,
Because
absolutely. It's a good idea.
she stormed one of my meetings I had with HR.
I'm sorry, she did what, TJ?
She stormed one of my meetings with HR. She
So
wasn't invited. I asked to meet with HR and she invited herself.
Yeah. Then I would go back to HR and talk to them about it. By the way, if you do block somebody on LinkedIn, you have a record of everybody you've blocked.
Okay.
So if you need that, that's available. Bo. Can't hear you, Bo. There
Yeah,
you
just
go.
a quick thought to try and help Deb. Deb, something you said to us, one of the reasons that this is exciting for you is that this is a major company that's really involved in the community, really gives back. Don't forget to really include that as another reason why you're game to go there, because you're really passionate about this company and what it does.
Absolutely.
That's something that I have in my notes. It's at this stage in the game, and I said this to the recruiter, it's about working for a company where I feel that I'm not only excited about the job, but I'm excited about working for the company. It's like, when you're interviewing somebody, they want to talk about themselves. People like talking about themselves. They like hearing good things. Well, companies like hearing good things about themselves in the same manner. So I already have that as part of my piece, as part of my spiel for them, for the hiring manager. So hopefully it will go well.
Keep us posted. We've all got fingers crossed.
Well, thank you.
Of course. Who's next?
Linda, there's a question in the chat. I don't know if Chandra wants to come up and talk about it, or do you want to see if she wants to come on?
Chandra, would you like to talk about your question? Can you join us on screen? Are you willing?
I'll be there in a moment.
Perfect.
Make it real quick.
I just need to find you.
Okay.
Okay, well, she's coming up. There she is. Okay, Shandi, you have to be able to turn your camera on if you want to be on screen. There she is. Okay, we understand. Take your time.
Just 1 second.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, so I wrote, as I wrote on the chat, my question is, um I keep I'm currently struggling with my job right now. I didn't want people to hear me. I'm a little far away, so they don't hear me.
You're fine.
All right, so I'm currently struggling with my job to meet production goals, right?
Okay.
And even though I try to step it up a bit, I'm still getting errors. So I want to know what the next step is, basically,
For you or for them?
for me.
So there are several things that you can do. What would you like to do? Do you want to be able to keep this job?
No,
Okay. That's always the
because
first.
I'm trying to be, I don't want to just walk away, but at the same time, I know it's time to go.
Okay. So if you have a job and you can stick it out, my recommendation always is that you do that while you're continuing to look. It gives you that added cushion if you can. If
Oh
you
yeah.
can't, it makes sense to leave. If it's really getting to you, then you may need to walk away. But in
Yeah.
terms of what you can do, I would do a two-pronged approach, Chandra. One of which is to start that job search now so that you have that sense of control. But I would also do whatever you can to work with your current management team to ask them for advice and support to help improve that current performance. Are you actually on a performance
Okay.
improvement plan?
Um, yes. Yeah, I'm working on it now.
Okay. So if you're actually on a performance improvement plan, that makes it a little more difficult. Unfortunately, what happens is that there are some companies who use that as a way of saying, okay, this is our process to move out, not our process to solidify what you're doing. So I would work directly with your hiring manager or with your team to see what they can do to support you, demonstrate that you really want to improve, ask them for their advice and support, all the same time know that you're looking for something else in the back.
Okay.
But you want to be able to have the control as to when you leave, not them, if you can.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Good.
Linda, can I just jump in?
Please.
Yeah, it says my internet's unstable. Oh, sorry. Hopefully I won't drop off. Chandra, the other thing I would suggest you do, it's a difficult situation. I'm sure you feel it's difficult, but this gives you the chance to look at what have they asked for in the performance improvement plan? What was reasonable for what you came in skills-wise with, for example, but also as a way to learn how and in what way you can talk about it going forward, because you don't want to say, oh, they separated me after a PIP or what, however you want to say it. You want to talk about, I realized it wasn't a good job fit after a month, or, I worked on this and worked on that, but there were hidden things they wanted that weren't in the job description or that I didn't understand. You can use it as a way to show your continued learning. I did go ahead and take a course in COBOL, or that's old programming, or something like that. But just use it to give you a talking script too, so that you don't feel so defenseless. I feel really bad for you. Even in your question, I'm thinking, you need our support to know you're doing what you need to do. And I love that Linda got you immediately to say, no, this isn't a job for me, but, so Linda's given you a bridge. Use it to know that it's not all about you. It's about the perceived job they thought they wanted done and the person that came in. Make it dispassionate, because usually we say, oh, I'm a failure, I'm this, I'm that, I'm never going to get another job, or maybe it's just me talking that way. I want you to know you have our support. There are oftentimes a lot of mismatches between jobs and what people bring. So hopefully that'll help you get back a little bit more of the control you've had to give away and empower you to go on to your job search, because you're here now. So yay, you came here for advice and you're moving on. That's the biggest thing, is showing your readiness. Thanks, Linda.
Absolutely. So
Thank
great.
you.
And the idea is to, in many cases, it's not so much that you're not doing the job may have changed. The requirements of the job have changed. And so that's often the phrase that I use with people when they're talking about it. It's not, it wasn't working. It was the job requirements changed. It is no longer a fit. Okay. That takes the onus off of you. It puts it on the job itself and gives you the ability to, again, as Sue said, start learning something new, positioning yourself in different ways. All of which really helps not just your self-esteem, but helps you move on to that next job. Okay, we're all here to support you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, Linda and Sue, Manu here. I raised my hand. I would like to add to this.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think what I have learned is, and you are well familiar with the Crofton Strength Finder. So every human being has unique strengths. And the work you are doing means, if it is your passion area, very few get that, nothing like that. But otherwise, like, you need to leverage your strengths, because what you can achieve with your strength is a lot more than trying to fix your, you can say, weaknesses. Because you cannot make a fish climb a tree or a monkey do like sea diving, if you look at that. So have that confidence. What you bring, you are unique. God created you unique.
Thank you.
Think about what your strengths are, where you want to take them. Life is a journey, like chapters, things will go up and down. Don't lose trust in yourself. Be confident and look at your strengths. What do you want to do? Drive it by your strength. Don't run after money. Don't run after a title. Go after like what will give you that satisfaction and comfort, whatever you are actually looking for.
Good
Thank
advice.
you.
Thank you.
Gotta go.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome. Next question. Lisa.
Hi, I was just thinking of, in the past, you've suggested asking people after an interview if, if you like the person, they liked you, but it wasn't the right fit, to ask, can I stay in touch with you, or I'd like to stay in touch with you. What's the best way then to follow back up with those people after a certain amount of time?
Great question. And actually, I love a thank you note after a turn down for an interview. One reason is that so few people do it, so it makes you stand out. It gives you that added emphasis in somebody else's mind that you're really interested in the role and the company, as opposed to what can you do for me, which is really an important thing. So what I suggest is that you go back and do two things. One of which is, after the interview, I've really enjoyed this. I understand it didn't work out, but can you give me some advice? What can I do to better prepare myself for a role like this here or elsewhere in the future? Turn them into your mentor. Unfortunately, most people aren't going to give you a lot of feedback, but if you ask for the mentoring advice, you're much more likely to get it. Then the next part of that, Lisa, is, I've really enjoyed this. You've got so many wonderful opportunities. May I keep in touch with you for future opportunities? Nobody's going to say no. So once they say that, they've now given you permission, then you come back to them in a couple of weeks. Or if you see another opportunity, reach back out. This is not a stalking situation. Don't call them every week. Don't send them something every week. But the idea is that every once in a while, absolutely, you can keep in touch. And you can do that. There is no end limit on when that can be, as long as you're doing it respectfully And my guess is probably no more than about once a month.
Okay, and if there isn't another specific position, would you just, like, what would, I guess, could you give an example of like what you would say in an email to them?
So, are the positions hypothetically very similar, Lisa?
No, I mean, if there's not a specific position,
Oh,
if it's
not
just
a
like you
specific
want to,
position, then I would just do it in general. Okay. I'm just keeping in touch for future opportunities. What do you see coming down the pike? Okay. Or talk a little bit about what's going on in the company.
okay,
Okay. Or in that department for which you interviewed. It's like anything else, you're building and maintaining that relationship. You
and
don't
ask
have
them
to even
about
do it
what's
once a
happening
month.
in your department. Okay. And maybe volunteer what I know is happening in the company if I do, or ask them what's happening in their department or their company.
Absolutely. And
Okay,
you have information that you already have. That shows that you're really paying attention. It's not just you asking. It's you actually invested in that organization.
okay, good, thanks.
Absolutely. Next question. Y'all are shy this morning. Jim,
It's hi. I hope you don't mind. I don't like my camera. Oh, do you unmute me or do I unmute myself? I'm
you
sorry.
unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
So this morning I attended one of those LinkedIn experts, and is it just me? Does anyone else feel inadequate as far as using LinkedIn to achieve some kind of supposed success?
I'm not sure what you mean, Jim.
Well, these experts who make all these suggestions, do this, do that, post this many times a day and make these connections and email so many people every day. It just seems overwhelming.
It is.
Okay.
So the idea with LinkedIn is a tool, but it is only a tool. Use it as you can. Do I think it can help? I do. But one of the big things with LinkedIn is that it helps to position you as an expert. Do you have to post once a day, once a week? You don't. Would it be a good thing if you did at least once every 2 weeks and make a comment? Absolutely. But the comments that I'd like you to make would be those that help move the conversation forward from that professional standpoint. It does not need to be your own post. You can comment on someone else's post, not just, hey, this looks great, thank you, okay, or congratulations, but something that actually helps to move the conversation forward and demonstrate your expertise. So here's the reason I recommend it. We know that hiring managers are looking at LinkedIn. We know that recruiters are looking at LinkedIn, which means that your profile really does need to be good and up to date. Does it have to be perfect? Heck no, mine's not. Okay, mine's always a work in progress. But we wanted to be able to showcase some of what you do and who you are, which is why it's so important. Because we know that people look at LinkedIn in addition to your resume, they need to complement one another. And one of the things LinkedIn does better than anything else is give you that opportunity not only to build those network feelers, okay, grow all of that, but also to showcase what you know and to talk about your expertise. I'm not talking about this as a sales tool, okay? I'm talking about you sharing some ideas and insights based on some of the posts that you see, and I think it really does work. Remember,
Okay.
any you comment, it raises your visibility as well as the visibility of the person whose post you're commenting on. So it's always a good thing.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next. Charles.
What's your thought on putting the open to work swoop on your LinkedIn? Does it remove any leverage you have, or?
No, actually it does the opposite. I'm one of those people who says green banner all the way. And I will tell you that there may be some controversy about it. But all of my experience and all the recruiters with whom I've worked tell me that that open to work banner gives them that added push to reach out. They know you're interested and much more likely to be able to respond or interested in responding. Not only that, that green banner also notifies your network, and you are more likely to get those connections and build those connections. And you never know where some of those are going to go as well.
Okay.
Now, somebody else recently just put up one that says desperate. Don't do that. Okay. Please don't do that. But the open to work, absolutely. And you know that you can do the open to work two ways. You can do the open to work, the green banner, which means everybody on LinkedIn. And that's actually my preference. Or you can do it just to recruiters. Now, the problem is if you do it just to recruiters, the only people who will see that are the fewer than 1/3 of recruiters on LinkedIn who are actually paying for LinkedIn Recruiter. It is not visible to anyone else. Most recruiters do not use LinkedIn Recruiter.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Linda, I have one more comment on this, and I can't remember whether it was Virginia Franco or Lynn Williams who said this a long time ago and recently. If you put the open to work banner on Sunday morning, go take it off, or Sunday evening, and Monday morning, turn it back on, because it's like the old advice about change one grammatical thing in your profile and it raises you to the top of the searches again. I don't know if it works. I'm just telling you, big people, more expert than me, are recommending that. So if you are going to try it out, and you're not getting much airplay after a couple of weeks, think about turning it on and off, in 10 hours or something. It's just saying it's new.
So,
Have you heard that, Linda?
I have, and it doesn't even need to be 10 hours. The algorithm picks it up immediately. So if you turn it off and then immediately turn it back on, you can do that. And it will still reanalyze it as if it is something new. So yes, you can absolutely do that. Just remember to turn it back on again.
along those lines, I had been told long ago to not to turn off update notifications on your profile so that every time you make a change, people don't see it. Is that something that's worth turning on, or this gets pushed out separately and is completely different? Okay, got it.
Entirely
Thank you.
different, and I would not turn on the notified contacts.
Perfect.
Okay, because you can make it. I will on occasion go in and make one word change. Nobody needs to see that. The
Right.
algorithm sees it and then reanalyzes it as if it is something brand new. So it brings it back up to the top of the situation. But your network doesn't need to know that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ali, I think your hand is up.
Correct. Quick question. When we apply a job on LinkedIn and then, let's say, a day later, you receive an email, it says your application was viewed. What that really means? It means that a person actually looked at it or went through some system. What that means, your application was reviewed or viewed.
Honestly, all it means is that somebody took a look.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here's the thing you can do that most people don't. If you got a message saying that your application was reviewed, there's nothing wrong with you reaching out to the person who supposedly reviewed your application and say, I'm really excited. What additional information can I provide?
Okay.
You have nothing to lose. Okay. You can give a very, very short email to go along with it or message. Okay. About why you're so excited. Or one good thing that you do that matches the job. But I will tell you that very few people actually do follow up with that. So if you've got a name or if you've got a way to contact them, it makes you stand out.
So also many jobs now, I would say, at least those I have seen, maybe more than 50% has a name of a recruiter or the hiring manager, which I also sent a separate, even though the response rate has been extremely
It's going to be
low.
very low.
So I'm also thinking these days it's easier to guess the email, usually first name dot last name company. I'm thinking starting actually sending it via regular email. I mean, do the LinkedIn thing, but then rather than use the LinkedIn message, do an email
You can
directly.
try it both ways. Some people are more open to the email response than others. But most people will absolutely, they'll know that there is at least that LinkedIn message, whether they respond or not. And that early in the process, the idea is the reach out that's the important thing, not necessarily whether they follow up right away. If that makes any sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lisa.
Hi, I just wanted to add on the open to work. I had an experience yesterday that somebody I worked with years and years ago texted me on LinkedIn and said, oh, I know somebody who is looking for referrals for a project manager consultant. And he said, oh, I know, you've given me good people before to my, the person I worked with. And she connected the two of us and he reached out to me. We're going to talk next week. So, and it was because I had that open to work that she asked me.
Mm-hmm. That open to work banner, by the way, is not a bad thing at all. Some people are concerned because it says, oh, I don't have a job. People are going to be unhappy. What am I doing? Right? But there's nothing wrong with that. Your goal is to get yourself out there as much as possible so that people know who you are, what you can do, and what you're looking for. The more active you are on LinkedIn, and even if you're doing it once every other week, do something on LinkedIn that helps to move the conversation forward from that professional standpoint. Make you stand out as one of those go-to people. When you do that, you stand out and that helps you. So that's important. But absolutely, the open to work banner, we're finding more people are more interested in seeing those because they know if nothing else, you're open to a conversation. Mm-hmm. Great question, Lisa. No. Yes, Mark.
Hi, Linda. Can you hear me okay?
Can.
Okay. So to follow up on the open to work banner. So I have a situation where I'm in transition. I was asked to be an advisor for a organization that I belong to. And this is a volunteer role. I was going to, but it's pretty, for those that are in the organization and those that know, it's a pretty nice role. So the visibility, I want to provide some visibility to that and post that I've accepted the role of X, Y, and Z of this advisor, right? But at the same time, I want to make sure that people understand and are aware that I'm looking for a full-time role in whatever I'm looking for, right? So one, do I do that in one post? And so I was going to leave the open to work banner on. Actually, okay. I shut it off, but I'm going to turn it back on based upon what we just talked about. So my question is, do I do it all in one post or do I do it as a follow-up?
Interesting question. My gut tells me actually to do two.
Okay.
One would be, although you could do one, but you're two different things. One is, what is this volunteer work that you're doing? And you want to talk about that. But you also then want to talk about other things that you're looking for. So continue to make yourself the expert in your field, whatever it is, with those comments and those posts. What I like about this volunteer opportunity is that it gives you an opportunity to not only showcase what you're doing now, but the skills you can use that are transferable to something else. So you can absolutely keep that open to work up. You can talk about that and you can say, this is a volunteer, whatever it is, however it is you want to phrase it. But start talking about some of the things you're doing there as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll think about that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. By the way, the whole idea of volunteer work doesn't have to be something major. It's nice if it is, but it also gives you an opportunity to showcase new skills, to bring in new accomplishments, other things that you've done that help along this process. So don't be afraid to do something like that.
And Linda, I would just add, you don't have to lead with it's a volunteer position. In fact, you don't even need to mention that it's a volunteer position. It is work if you do it more than one time or do it for a couple hours a month consistently for 2 to 3 months, something that shows consistency, work ethic, all the things we want in work anyway. And I think that's one thing I see all the time. This is a volunteer position. And I'm like, don't start with that. Start with what your profession is. So thanks for letting me come in.
No, you're absolutely right, Susan. It's a great point. So you're not leading with the fact that it's volunteer. It should be there someplace, okay, because otherwise people question. But the goal is, what is it that you are doing? Why are you doing it? What are you accomplishing it? What skills are you able to demonstrate as part of this? And if this is a volunteer role, in many cases, this is a passion project. So talk a little bit about some of that too, because that makes you different from everybody else. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing something like that. And I encourage it. The other thing is that we all know that unfortunately, the LinkedIn algorithm says that if you don't have something current, you may not show up in searches. And even those volunteer activities show up as current. So that's not a bad thing either. If you don't have a volunteer activity, go ahead and put in, for lack of a better phrase, a placeholder company. It says open to work in such and such an area, gives you a chance to talk about what you're doing, gives you a chance to highlight some of your skill set, but LinkedIn's algorithm sees it as a current position, even though you're saying you're not really employed, but it still works. Thanks, Sue. Mark.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up to that. So I was not going to mention, I was going to put part-time because it's a couple hours a month. Nobody needs to know that. Sue, I'm 100% behind you. Like this is a prestigious role. Like I was tapped on the shoulder for this. So nobody needs to know that it's volunteer. I'm going to put down the organization. And so I appreciate the advice though. I think I have some great next steps. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, it does not need to be listed as volunteer. You can if you choose to. But if this is an opportunity and you want to list it as part-time, there's nothing wrong with that. The idea is, what are you doing? Who are you serving? What skills are you able to demonstrate? What are you accomplishing? All of those things are important, and it doesn't matter whether it's once a month, every month, whether it's every day, whether it's once a week. You're doing it, you're demonstrating it, you can still build on all of those things. Really important. Thanks. Next. By the way, in the chat, I mentioned that I will copy and paste the chat into our private group. For those of you who don't know, we have a private group on LinkedIn. And what that means is nobody else on LinkedIn can find it. The only way you can join that group is if you ask to join and I allow you in. The only people who come into that group are those who have either attended these sessions or registered and said they can't come. It's a private space, which means that what I love about it is that because LinkedIn can't find it, your posts aren't visible to anyone outside of that group. It's a great opportunity for networking, for sharing questions, for getting support, for asking for advice, okay? For sharing job opportunities with other people. It's also where I post the information from our chat. It's also where I'm going to post the AI summary. And when I put the link up, since YouTube wasn't working for me today, I will post that in the private group as well. But it's a great way of sharing that kind of information and resources. And we're up to about 280 some people, I think, at the moment. So it's a wonderful way of sharing information, advice, support, and getting some of those questions answered as well. So I did put the information there in the chat. I'm going to put it in again. So if you want to join the private group, that's the way to do it. Other questions? So I'm going to do a real quick crystal ball for a moment. Cracked crystal ball, for those of you who know me. We are getting toward the end of the year, okay? That's not a bad thing. What that means is that companies are beginning to reevaluate what it is they're looking for. So at this time of year, you're going to see two spurts of activity, one of which is companies starting to put more jobs out, although they may not be hiring yet. You may see a few more jobs being filled, although my cracked crystal ball says that's still not a huge effort right now. We are seeing some people who are doing more rage applying. Please don't. Rage applying means that I'm so tired of this. I'm just sending my resume out willy-nilly to anybody. I'm sending the same thing to everybody, hoping you'll bite. Don't do that. That works against you. It truly works against you. With so many people applying for jobs, and we are seeing more people starting to apply for these jobs, okay? We know that you need to be able to find a way of making yourself stand out. And the way you do that is by tailoring your materials specifically to that job, not just in your resume, not just in your cover letter. And yes, cover letter every time, whether people read it or not. Okay. The purpose of the cover letter is to help you sell yourself in. It's not to repeat the resume. It's to give you that pre-answer to why me, why you, why this job? What do I bring that nobody else does? What's my story that brings me to this role? So it's your way of introducing you, not just your experience. Will I tell you that everybody reads a cover letter? No. Will I tell you that everybody will know that you did one? Absolutely. And whether they read it or not, the applicant tracking systems do. They will still pick up those keywords. More importantly, for me, it tells me you took the time and the effort to put that in. Now, I probably shouldn't admit this, but when I was in my recruiting role, I would often read the cover letter after I read the resume instead of before. And I did that because I was already interested in you to begin with. And I wanted to make sure that you really wanted this job, not just any job. I wanted to see what additional information you could provide. And those cover letters for me might make the difference if I'm on the fence between whether I call you in for an interview or not. So don't avoid cover letters. I know they take time, but truly they are important. So tailor materials every time. Now, with some of these calls to get people back to the office, we are seeing more people doing that kind of rage applying, which means that it is harder for you to get your materials to the hiring manager. Hiring managers right now, recruiters right now, are again being inundated with applications. Does that mean you shouldn't apply? Absolutely not. It means you should absolutely apply, but make sure that you're doing it deliberately, that you are telling me why I should look at you rather than someone else. Okay. And by the way, I know Amazon just pulled everybody back. There are other companies that are now pulling back from that and saying, we're not sure that this is really going to work. One of the problems is that when companies do this massive, everybody comes back to work, it's almost become a way of, you've heard of quiet quitting. This is quiet firing. We know we want to reduce the ranks. And we know that if we say everybody has to come back to the office full time, we're going to lose some people. So I don't have to go through the process. I don't have to let anyone go. You're going to self-select out. Here's the problem. The people who are self-selecting out are the ones companies really don't want to lose, because they're the ones who have the opportunities. So we are starting to see, and my gut tells me, my cracked crystal ball tells me, that at least through the end of Q2 next year, we are going to see not only that continual shift in terms of what the workplace looks like, but we are going to see more and more people who either are currently employed or who are thinking about making a change, who are going to get themselves back out there, which means you're well positioned to start this ball rolling on your own before they start. So that's my cracked crystal ball for today. Other questions before I let you all go? Yes, Ali.
Again, sorry if I talk too much today.
You're fine.
One thing regarding the cover letter, I used to not send it, but now I'm using something. I just want to share it with the team. I use ChatGPT. So what I do, I upload my resume, I cut and paste the job description, but then I give a specific instruction to the ChatGPTs. Number one, use bullets, don't be too long, don't make it a cliche or a standard, make it memorable, and keep it brief and friendly and professional. So these are, I put all these prompt, like 5, 6 of them. It generates it for me. I review, and usually it's very good, very targeted. Not that I got too much thing out of it yet, but just want to share that with the rest of the team. So that really helps you to speed up the process while you improve the quality.
So here's my thing with ChatGTP. ChatGTP is a great prompt. It's a good starting point. The problem that I have with a cover letter like you just did, number one, is that it is becoming more and more obvious to recruiters that that's exactly what you're doing.
So I usually say, write such a way that it doesn't obvious that it's ChatGPT wrote it.
And that, but it's still not, okay. The other thing is that when you're doing that, all you're really doing is highlighting some things from your resume. You're not telling me anything new. The best cover letters, from my perspective, as a recruiter and as a hiring manager, would be those that provide some added information. Highlighting what you've done is great. But then what's the difference between what you have on the resume versus what you have in the cover letter? The resume is the objective piece. Here's what you're looking for. Here's what I do. Here's how I can serve you. The cover letter starts to introduce who you are and to tell your story. So yes, I know a lot of people are using ChatGTP. Please don't use it for your resume. Please, please, please don't use it for your resume. Use it as a prompt. If you want to use it as a cover letter prompt, you can. Yes, it will shorten your time frame, but please remember that if all you're using is that opportunity to highlight what you've done that relates to the job, yes, that's a good thing, but it doesn't tell me anything more than I couldn't read from already reading the resume. Just my own point of view.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And with cover letters, lots of controversy about them. Some people say don't do them. I say that they're important every time. Okay, we're at the end of our time. I put some information in the chat. Make sure you all do it as well. Okay, what I would do would be to remind you all that we do have that private group. I put that information in the chat. Feel free to reach out and ask to join us. In addition, anybody who would like a quick chat or connect, please connect with me. I'm going to stop the recording.